All right, so here we are at CTIA 2011. We have the privilege of sitting with Mr. Glenn Lurie, who is President of Emerging Devices. A very long title, Resale Partnerships for AT&T Mobility and Consumer Markets.
It's pretty good. It's good.
That's a long business card.
It is a long business
Take
card.
2 lines actually on the card?
No, I got to look. I think actually we got it on one, but it's pretty long.
So they sent us your bio beforehand. We have a lot of questions lined up that we want to ask you, but the first question I want to ask you is of your professional soccer days.
Oh, great. Okay.
So MLS?
No, actually, I'm older than that. So when I graduated from college, there was no MLS. It was the MISL, the Indoor Soccer League. And if you were an American back in those days, your only chance of getting paid.
I used to go to
play.
Anaheim Splash games.
Okay, Anaheim Splash. Actually, you see, you're young. So I actually played. So you saw him play against the Portland Pride.
Yeah.
I actually played a year for the Portland Pride. That was my last year playing.
We can ask the story. How'd you get from soccer to being president of Emerging Devices at AT&T?
Wow, it's a long story. So I've been in the wireless business. It'll be 22 years coming up, and I was playing ball. And in the off season, I thought I actually had a company that did some work for that had a wireless phone. And this is back in the days of the old Motorola 8000s, which were $2,000, you know, the big brick phone.
The Zach Morris phone.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, I just thought it was the coolest thing I'd ever seen.
I felt that same passion when I got my first cell phone. I remember when I had to tell my wife I was leaving a job in a downturn economy to make videos for a living.
Yeah.
I mean, that was
probably good for you.
Well, in hindsight, it ended up working out well, but having to tell my mother-in-law that I was leaving my job in a down economy, make videos for a living was tough. So I can relate to that. Can you share from behind the scenes, what was AT&T's thinking in bringing the iPhone initially?
Well, look, there's things we've said publicly. So, you know, we had done a couple of things with Apple, right? We launched the Rocker.
I remember the Rocker.
Right, with Motorola.
With the iTunes built in?
Yeah, exactly. First time that the iTunes client was ever allowed outside of an Apple device. And in that process, Ralph and Steve developed a relationship. And when Apple decided that the Rocker was a failure.
This is about 2005, if I remember correctly.
This actually, the Rocker launched, I want to say, in the end of 04.
Okay.
The first call where Steve wanted to sit down and really have a conversation about what are we going to do in the future was actually in first quarter of 05. And so Stan, Ralph, and I went and met with Mr. Jobs and a gentleman named Eddie Q. Eddie Q runs iTunes. He obviously works for Tim Cook today. And that was the first meeting of us talking about what do we want to do together. They learned from us, and we learned a lot from them. I mean, they weren't in the wireless space. This was their first jump into the wireless business, and their success isn't a surprise. And I'm just glad that we as partners have had the kind of success that we've had.
And can we expect that same sort of success to continue throughout the years?
Absolutely. I mean, the 4S launched last Tuesday.
200,000 units? It's the biggest iPhone launch you guys have had ever, correct?
Yeah, it's as far as pre-sale, right? And when you look at what happened, I mean, same thing happened when we went from 3G to 3GS. You remember that, right?
Okay.
Everybody said, whoa, wait a second, it's not that big a difference. And 3GS, arguably one of the most successful phones ever. This iteration from 4 to 4S, we're excited about it. And we, even though some of the media and some of the analysts kind of said, it wasn't
I'm certainly guilty of falling into that.
It wasn't what we expected. Look at what we care about is what our customers say. Apple has done an incredible job with their ecosystem. And I say that, I mean from device to content to app store to all the ways that the devices work together. I mean, when you think about the iPhone, iPad, and whatever else you may have, whether you got a MacBook or whatever you have, everything you buy on content works with everything. And that ecosystem is very hard to replicate and beat. And I think that's what's driven that. The customers just love the App Store. They love iTunes. They love all the content they can get. They love the bookstore. And they've just done such a phenomenal job making it really simple to utilize and get that content that's what's kept them above.
The other follow-up questions that we had, and then I'll move off from Apple, I promise. All of your other 4G HSPA Plus devices, in the Signer indicator, you either say H Plus or 4G. Can we expect something similar with the iPhone 4S?
Yeah, we haven't made any announcements on that yet. We're working with Apple, and that's really all I can say about that right now.
Okay.
We'll see Friday.
How do you guys feel about the new media? So leaks are part of the business. Leaks come out. What's the feeling on those?
We really like leaks. They're great. Hey, look, it makes you change the way you do business, right?
Sure.
Because reality is it wasn't 10 years ago, people weren't looking to be cool by taking something out of the shop and putting it on the web. And obviously it's against our policies and our business. Yeah. We have to change the way we do business. We've had to do things differently. I mean, a great example, and I'll go back to Apple, when we first started to work with Apple, one of the things we had to prove to them is that we could keep things quiet. We're big AT&T. By the time we were big Singular, right? And they're very, very, very good, if not the best, at keeping things very quiet. And so we've never leaked a thing in almost 7 years. It is amazing, though, how fast things spread. And I would say this, and I know I'm on camera, it's amazing how much of it's wrong. I mean, reality, I know my PR folks here that deal with me every day, most of it's wrong. And that's part of the frustration when you know it's wrong and you just have to deal with it and move on.
You should see our iPhone 5 rumor library.
Yeah. I bet you if I got $1 for every time you had a bad rumor, I probably wouldn't. I might not be here. But point being is that's part of the new world, and we have to embrace it.
And being in the line of work we're in and the department you head up, where do you see connectivity going? Obviously, tablets are a new market that didn't necessarily exist 4 or 5 years ago.
Actually, try a year and a half ago. Yeah, absolutely. Most of us don't want to run around carrying around our PCs anymore, so we have a tablet. I'd argue 3 years from now, you won't have a PC. You'll have a tablet that may be a PC or it may be an iOS or whatever it is, but you're not going to have both. Today, you might have it, there's 260 million cars on the road, 5% are connected, which I mean embedded module.
Yeah.
Majority of them are people are expecting to take this, walk in, and through Bluetooth or connecting that they're going to tether. The future of the automobiles, everyone will be both.
Are you seeing it as Kit from Knight Rider? I know that sounds a little outlandish, but I mean, the whole getting in your car, having your phone, and juggling 100 things that's a big problem.
It's an old Simpsons episode.
It is.
Yeah,
It
he has
is.
the fax machine in the car and he drives off the bridge.
I actually see it. I actually see it as how the customer's going to want it. This is going to hit the car. The car is going to recognize it's there, and you're going to have already told it what you want this to do.
Yeah.
This may be driving the front seat, the back seat. Remember, the back seat's a different place. You guys are kind of, I got kids. I mean, so what they wanted in the back seat when they were younger, they're older now, is much different than what I cared about in the front seat.
That's right.
The safety security part of it and diagnostics part of it in the front seat is really more a business related issue, right? If you're Ford and you've got this new electric EV car and and you want to know how it's performing, that diagnostic chip, you're going to be taking information off that too.
Interesting.
Right? So now you can see what's the service intervals, what's happening, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a whole bunch of models that fall into the vehicle, but there's no question every car will be connected down the road. Innovation in almost any industry equals wireless. Tell me any electronics device that wouldn't be better if it's connected, and then you start to think about that. Well, you're going to talk about connected TVs, right? Obviously, internet TVs, great, right? The connected home. What's the future of the home? And we believe the future of the home is that's going to be the center of the hub of your life.
I appreciate the time.
No
Thank you
problem.
very much.
Thanks.
That was very
Appreciate it.
interesting.